Hey guys, in today's video we are going to be making a cemetery fence for my Halloween cemetery. We're going to be taking some foam blocks and carving out some stone patterns. We're going to be taking some fence panels that I bought from Lowe's, and we're going to be spraying those down with some spray paint to make them have a rust appeal. Let's build a cemetery fence. Thanks for watching and thank you for subscribing. Alright, we're going to start building a fence to go along the front of the cemetery. I'm using a couple of the foam blocks that I got from Tractor Supply. Couple of fence panels. I believe I got those at Lowe's, and I will be carving out a stone look to the front of all of the columns. I'm going to put a little 2-inch cap on the top and then put a skull on the front of the columns along the front of the cemetery. But we'll have a couple of fence panels between, a column, couple fence panels, a column, and in the center and entrance of the cemetery will be my skull arch that I got from Home Depot last year. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue the top and bottom sections of the column together using the Gorilla Glue. Put a weight on top of that to hold it in place and let that cure overnight. Get ready to start drawing the rock pattern on each of the columns and get those carved out. This fence that I've got, I'm going to be spraying it with some spray paint to give it a rust appeal to make it look more aged and ancient. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rock pattern all the way around each one of these column sections, and after I get it drawn out I'll grab the router and we'll start cutting out the patterns. Now with the pattern drawn on, I can take the router and route out all of the lines. Then we'll sand each stone down to give it more of a rounded and textured look. And that'll be the columns. And there you have the first column carved. I've stood the fence beside it just to give a little idea. The fence will be rusty once I paint it, but there's the stone pattern on the styrofoam block columns. The little panels, the fence panels that I'm going to be using between the columns, I'll use 2 sections of this between each column, but as you can see, these are new fence panels and are too crisp looking, so what I'm going to do is going to take some spray paint and just lightly dust and change to give them a rusted look. Okay, so now I'm taking the fence panel. This is what it looks like new. And then after I spray it, it's giving it this rust look. And here's a better look at how the rusting does for the fencing in the daylight. Better sun coverage. Made the new fence look very old and rusty. Now that I have half of the columns carved, I'm going to take a break from carving these other 6, and I'm going to take this 2-inch piece of foam board and I'm going to measure and cut to make little toppers to go on top of the columns. Get those glued up, then I'm going to do some weathering to each of the columns and get them ready to dry lock and paint and weather. I'm going to measure out the top cap pieces to go on the columns and get those cut up and glued onto the columns. Now that I have the column toppers cut and sanded, it's time to get them glued on top of each of the columns. There's a dry fit look of what it's going to look like with the topper on top. After the glue dries, we'll be ready to paint it with the Drylok. Still got some touch-up work to do. Gonna weather the stones, painting the cracks there. But just to give you a little update of what it's looking like. The columns, again, I'm gonna be attaching something to the top of them, either a skull or pumpkin or something. And the rusted fence between. Finish touching those up, get them weathered. Add a little moss and other detail, and my cemetery fence will be ready. I've got the 6 remaining columns carved. Got the tops gluing on top right now. The first 6 I've got partially painted. We'll finish getting those painted up, and then we'll start getting them weathered, and then I'll show you what I use to anchor them to the ground. And there you have a completed section of my cemetery fence. Got a little weathering to do on the columns. Thank you for watching the videos, and thank you for subscribing.